Hi, this is Kim.
Hi, this is Shauna.
Hi, this is Kay. Hi, everybody, and welcome today to our Thriving LDS Singles Podcast. And we're excited to have Kim and Shauna here again today, and Kay. Hi. And today we're going to talk about traveling as solos, traveling single. So we've got quite a bit to say about that. Kim and I in particular love our travel, and we have done quite a bit. So Kim, tell us about your travel stuff. You've actually did quite a few travels last year. Tell us about that and traveling solo.
Yeah, that was one of the big things after my divorce. One of those decisions you have to make of, am I going to cheat myself, is how I perceived it, out of going on adventures and getting to see the things I had longed to all my life, or am I just going to go forward and be brave? And actually, it was one of the very first things I did. Even when I was separated, I signed up to go on a trip to Italy. I'd always wanted to go to Italy. Gosh, I signed up for that, and it was life-changing. I went on a tour because I was alone, and that's a little scary. I had traveled alone a lot for business in the United States by myself a lot. I used to fly back and forth between Utah and New York and Georgia all the time. But so I wasn't intimidated or worried about the traveling alone part, but into an international country was a lot different. I signed up to go on a tour to Italy. And like I said, that was just life-changing. I always sign up on a tour because I do worry about my safety and being alone. So that particular tour was an LDS only tour, or an LDS specific tour. So I felt like I was in a pretty safe environment there. And it wasn't for just singles, it was for anyone LDS. So there was actually mostly couples, but I did meet some amazing people, and actually a couple of them are still friends today. So you gain friendships when you're traveling. After that trip, I decided to do a couple of other trips, but then I got really brave and decided I was going to go to Costa Rica, not on a tour. And that was a little bit more intimidating, not knowing the language and being by myself and being in a foreign country. But I took measures to make sure that I was safe. That was an amazing trip. I went zip lining, and you get so many comments about, are you alone? And then they always say, you're so brave, or that's so courageous. But what are the options? Either you go alone or you don't go at all. And that just isn't an option for me. But this last two trips I went on, I also went on a tour, and I would really recommend going on tours. But Kay, I think you have some other experiences. If I was in the States, I think I would be fine. But when I'm going internationally, I went on a tour to Central Mexico. It was a lifelong dream to see where the monarchs migrate to. And that was, for me, a trip of a lifetime. It was a beautiful country. It was a challenging trip. There was a lot of hiking. We had to horseback because you go to 8,000, 9,000 feet elevation. And when you go from sea level to 8,000 feet can be strenuous. But it was a great hike. It was a hard hike. And so worth it, though, to see where the monarchs migrate to, and such beautiful country. And it was really a lovely trip. I was reading some statistics where it's 70+% of women over 50 travel alone, whether they're married or not, because their husbands don't want to go and they don't want to be cheated out of it. So I think it's really a growing population that is traveling alone. And definitely, if you want to go on adventures and see places, we don't want to cheat ourselves out of those opportunities.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I get people saying that to me too. It's like, well, why are you traveling alone? And you're going, look, my dumb husband hadn't died, I'd have traveled with him. But seeming I don't have a companion, it's either travel by yourself or don't travel at all. So I'm going to travel by myself. That's easy. I've done a variety of ways. So my first experience, some friends said, come on, let's go traveling. And we actually went to England and did one of the great walks across England. Wow. So they were like, they were trying to get me out of my, like, the widow's fog that you go, the funk. And they said, come on, let's go walking. Well, Northern England rains a lot. This was midsummer, and it rained a lot, but it certainly was a challenging experience, but it was certainly a wonderful experience. Some of those towns are just beautiful.
After you did that, did it make you feel like I can do this? Or were you thinking, I don't want to do this again?
Yeah, each experience has been slightly different, and I guess I'm trying to find which thing works. So after that trip, I actually went over to Wales and had a few days with family over in Wales, and that was really fun. And then I went and joined up with a historical bus tour of England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland. And I had a couple of days free, and so I went down to the London Temple, which is a long way south of London, and spent a couple of days there by myself. And so that was really a lovely sort of just quiet, placid time. And then went on this bus tour. And like you, Kim, I discovered that I'd always had this negative image of tours of you're forced to go around and you're stuck with these people and all that sort of stuff. Now, I don't know whether I was really lucky with my tour guide or the group of people, but it was really fun. It was a really good experience.
I have found so far all the tour guides that I have gone on tours with have just been delightful and very protective and social and welcoming, just really and fun to spend time with. I had really good experiences.
This guy really made the trip. He really crossing into the playing music that fitted the different places we were going. And I can't sing the Loch Lomond songs and stuff and telling stories. Yeah, that was a really fun trip. And so that got me moving. And then COVID came along, as we all remember. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not going to, like, getting stuck at home by yourself is really hard. And so a friend talked to me and said, like, why don't you go buy a motorhome and go travel? So that's what I did. I bought a motorhome. And so for the 2 years that COVID was causing all the problems around the world, I was just basically driving my motorhome to wherever COVID lockdowns weren't.
That's awesome.
So tell us about that, Kate. So you had your office, you worked out of your mobile home?
Yeah, I worked out of the mobile home. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so all you had to do, so obviously you just have your computer and you get a little dongle thing. Mine was a square thing, which is why I'm showing it like that. And that can connect up to the internet. And as long as you're in a town where there's internet, you can do calls and things. And then when you didn't have calls booked, you could go off into non-internet zones. In Australia, there's a lot of non-internet zones. There's a long way between towns.
And did you camp or did you just park in parking lots? Like, where did you stay at night? Things like that.
Yeah, so we have a lot of free camps. So you can just drive into these free camps. There's actually an app that shows you the free camps. And the app is brilliant because people are updating it all the time. So you might have someone, I went there yesterday and it was muddy, or, it was really lovely yesterday, or I did this. And they'll actually have photos and everything. So it's a really up-to-date
Is it only specific to Australia, or do you think it's international? Would we benefit from it in the US?
Yeah, I don't know. Check it up. It's called WikiCamps.
WikiCamps. Okay.
WikiCamps. And it gave so much up-to-date information. So that was really valuable.
Did you take your dog?
Yeah, I took my dog.
Oh, see, I think that would be so fun to do. I'd like to do that and do like church history tours across the US. Start in, I don't know, I guess I'd start here and work my way backwards to New York.
No, you've got to do it the other way around. You've got to start in New York and walk all the way.
It'll be all out of context.
We'll have to plan the trip.
Yes.
But just taking the dog was no problem at all. Again, this app would tell us whether the place was dog friendly. Most of our places are dog friendly.
Yeah.
Yes. And occasionally there was one where there's a beautiful place called Charleville where it's right in the middle of the outback, and they've got an observatory so you can see the stars. And they actually take you in a tour at nighttime and have big telescopes and point to the different stars and things.
Oh, wow.
So I actually had him. So he went to the vet overnight and got kennelled overnight. So for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are lots of places and apps, at least here in the US, where you can find a place that has a doggy daycare that you could probably leave them if you were doing a day trip or something.
Yeah, so some of the places where like they had big ferries that went out to famous places, it was right near the ferry terminal. There was literally a doggy daycare place. They're well set up for that sort of stuff. And so you
Yes.
just took your dog there before you hopped on your ferry. Other boats actually let the dogs on, which was interesting. So did a river cruise. You got to take the dog with you. So travel with the dog. The dog made it fun in that I think he made you get out. Like you had to go for a walk. You had to get out. People loved the dog. My dog's very cute, of course.
Adorable.
He's adorable. And that sort of helped with getting people saying hi to you and things. So people would come and, oh, what sort of dog's that? Oh, isn't he cute? And you'd go to dog parks to let him have a run around and meet all the other doggy people. So, yeah, it added a really nice element of the soul. So rather than staying in your own little room. And I think the motorhome's better than, say, people traveling from motel to motel, because I think that is more isolating. Whereas whether you're free camping or in a caravan park, you're with groups of travelers. So, hi, where have you been today? Where you traveled from? Where do you live? They're normal conversations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I've done other.
It's probably, I imagine, is it more economical or about the same? Do you know?
Oh, much more economical.
Yeah.
Apart from the original cost of the van. So I guess that's expensive. But I actually upgraded my van during that time and sold it for the same price I bought it for. So it's not like a car that's depreciating at a great rate. This is tending to stay in its value.
It was probably really therapeutic for you to do that, actually, to show that you could get out and be on your own, and right after you lost your husband.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it as therapeutic, but it certainly, it's less lonely traveling than it is sitting in a suburban house.
Exactly.
I found sitting in a house that's lonely. Whereas traveling, you're with a crowd of people who are traveling. Like everywhere you go, you're running into travelers, and they're all willing to talk, chat, be friendly. As I said, the dog certainly opened it up. So you'd taking him for a walk, and people would talk to you. So I found it much less lonely than suburbia. Yeah. And then, so what else have I done? I did my first cruise just in early December.
That was your first. I didn't realize it was your first.
Yeah, that's my first cruise. I suggest you don't go in school holidays. That's probably my big bit of advice there. But again, it was really good in that there's lots of activities you can go to, and just being single doesn't make any difference because you listen to the music or go to the shows. But I was actually with a group of people, and that was nice just because at dinner time you had a group of people to sit down with and chat.
Yeah.
But I'm going on another cruise at the beginning of February.
Nice.
And I will be by myself on that cruise, and all the way to Tasmania.
Wow.
So Tasmania, I'm up the top of Australia and Tasmania's down the bottom. So it actually doesn't sound that far, but it's actually quite a distance. It's like going from the top of America to the bottom of America. So yeah,
very cool. When I went to Italy, it was a cruise, and the two things I enjoyed. One, I was healing a lot because I was still going through my divorce. So I spent a lot of reflective time and journaling time and time on my own. And it was just really healing for me. But it was also the first time where I was in tourist mode, and I didn't have to worry about what my kids wanted to do, or my husband, or even a friend. If I didn't feel like going anywhere, I didn't have to. There was no people pleasing. There was just Kim pleasing. And it was just a huge luxury to not, all the decisions were, what does Kim want to do today?
And that's what I found in all the travels that I've done, both the motorhome and overseas stuff. I just get to choose what I want to do. And that is like when you travel with your family and you think, oh, this is good and this is the way it's meant to be and things, Yeah, traveling by yourself, I actually think has some real benefits. And one of them is, you get to, if you want to go to the museum and read every single sign on every single piece, there isn't somebody saying, oh, I'm bored, let's go.
That's
That
so
is a
true.
positive. That's a positive thing that you can look forward to.
Yeah,
You
it
get to
is
do what,
true.
if you want to sit in the cafe and just have your hot chocolate watching everybody for hours, then you can do that. No one's telling you can't do it.
How was security when you were out there alone?
I didn't worry. I see that. So I'm on a few different Facebook groups and things of solo women travelers, and I see that security issue come up a lot. I don't know if this is going to come across very well, but it does seem to be more of an American issue.
That's what I was going to say. I'll bet it's American.
It's pretty well, anytime I see someone asking that question, it's an American issue.
Yeah.
And so the sensible things that you would do as a woman in any, even if you were home, you probably don't go walking at 10 o'clock at night. So you take those precautions. But other than that, yeah, I didn't think safety was an issue at all. I tended to stay, even with the free camps, I would stay where there were people, and I would go out and walk and say hello to people. I don't think there was any time I was ever tempted to not stay somewhere, but I guess you've got a slight awareness of, is this where the bikie gangs come and hang out or whatever? But basically, that's where this app was really good, because it would give you that sort of information of, didn't feel safe here. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe I won't stay there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel that safety. And your motorhome's really, you got a door, you're locked in. A lot of people like the motorhomes because they say that if they did feel unsafe in the middle of the night, they literally can just climb into the cab and take off. I never really, I read it a lot. I've never actually thought about it or never done it, but that is one of the options, obviously.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yes, no, safety in Australia isn't an issue. Driving your car is the most dangerous thing you do here.
Yeah, that's great.
But yes, so I think there's some real benefits. I would actually encourage people to get out and travel. Make that list of things you want to do. And so, yeah, we as a group, we sit here and talk about, do we want to do that tour of Northern America and see that? Or do we want to go to Rome? Or do we want to go to do a historical tour of England? And whatever those places are, I think I had a tour booked to Jerusalem. I would probably only do that as a tour.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and who knows, really.
Which is a pity, because it was on my list. It's on my list.
Yeah. And not to discount going anywhere with your family. It's just different. You just plan to have a different experience, because I love being with my family and doing little trips with them. But traveling alone is really enjoyable too. You just get very different experiences. And Shauna, tell us, even though you're married, you still travel alone some, right?
Yeah, I travel everywhere alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I've gone, I worry about safety wherever I am, but I haven't been to Australia. I'm always noticing where I am and what's around me.
She likes to watch those crime shows, though.
Yeah, that's probably because I know it can happen. And if it can happen, it will happen to me because I've been in there.
Well, look, that could come from those different life circumstances. I've never really had anything bad happen to me. I don't think I've even had anybody break into my house. Like, it's, I've never had. So
yeah, Shauna's had a few of those.
I got held up at the tanning salon. Yeah, I've had a few of them.
Yeah, so different life experiences would give you that different level of fear. But yeah, I just feel that I think you should definitely look around. I don't think you should be completely naive. Have a van that locks its doors. They can save some.
Yeah, but that probably is the number one concern of being a single woman and traveling is safety. If you're in the U.S., that does come up.
Or Mexico, or in Australia,
and it depends on the country for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, go to New Zealand, go to Australia, go to England. Yeah. There's some really safe choices.
Safe places,
yeah.
England,
I felt Denmark was very safe.
Denmark,
Scandinavian.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of the Scandinavian countries.
And Japan and Korea.
I hear Japan. I haven't been to Japan yet, but Japan's got a really good reputation for being.
Yeah, they would not bring a bad name onto their family. They're really, there's no really low crime there.
Yeah.
So there's some really good places to start rather than doing.
Just do your research, right?
Yeah.
Go on a tour, because the tours have a vested interest in keeping you safe. They don't want to have any incidents.
That's right. If you wanted to go to some of the South American countries or the African countries, I think you should go on a tour or with a group of people or something.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you have Road Scholar? So Road Scholar, when I went to Central Mexico, I went on a tour. The two women that I met there that became good friends with, they go on Road Scholars all the time. It's ROAD Scholars, and they're more educational trips, which is because I'm a nerd. Those are the kind of things I love to do. They said that they are amazing and that there's a lot of married and a lot of single. It's a mix, typically more older people, and they have Road Scholar has single women travel groups. They've been on a few of those and had quite a few positive things to say about them. So that's on my list to research to see if I could sign up for some of those. I have
heard about that group. I haven't done anything with them, but I have seen that recommendation. And I guess that's also my recommendation for people starting this. So when I bought this motorhome, the first thing I did was join the Motorhome Association, and they actually have a solos subsection, and I joined up and went to some of their events. So it was only a couple of hours from home. So it was a nice 2-hour drive, and you knew you were going to meet people who knew what they were doing. And so you could say, how do you do this? And what do you do about this? And so I did a few of those at the beginning, and they were a really good, safe, nice little contained trip. I found them a bit boring when I got there, but it was, they played a lot of card games and things, and I was like, okay,
it's a good way to get your feet wet, huh?
But it was a really good way. I would still highly recommend it to people, because it's good to start small. You don't have to start with a major tour through South America. It's like you could start with
good point.
just 2 hours from your home and just get used to whatever way you're traveling and get.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
I bought this new motorhome, so it was brand new, came with a tank full of petrol, gas, whatever you
have to convert for us. You got to translate.
It's not gas, it's liquid. Anyway, so I drove a whole tank full distance and stopped at to fill up and couldn't figure out how to undo the cap. Could not figure out how to do the cap. And luckily the place I was staying that night wasn't far away, so I just drove there. And then when I went in, I said, does anybody know how to open the cap? And someone did.
I know, I have to Google all that stuff.
Yeah, thank goodness for Google, huh? Make
Google,
sure you have cell service.
Google really helps. YouTube, lots of things on YouTube, very valuable. Follow them. There's lots of solo women travelers on YouTube showing their trips and showing their van fit outs and talking about whether you want a toilet or you don't want a toilet and all that sort of stuff. There's lots of that information.
So do your research is number one. So you get in safe places, go with a tour group, get your feet wet with a little trip that's not too far away and not too many days.
Look at it as a positive thing.
Yeah, and then find all the positives.
Yeah. And then when some idiot in a caravan park sees you emptying the toilet and says, why isn't your husband doing that?
But he's probably doing it in heaven.
No, I'm way too blunt for that. I said he's dead.
And the guy that's a good line.
So you will run into idiots, not necessarily dangerous idiots, just idiots. So, but
Kay, you are more adventurous than I am for sure, because Kay told me, because we chat pretty regularly and once a week or so, and she mentioned to me, I won't be able to meet with you for a couple weeks because I'm going on a trip. I think she said either scuba diving or to the beach or
That's right.
something.
Yeah.
And then come to find out, when she got back, she started sharing all the details and I was astounded. So tell us about that trip. I was like, I can't believe you did that.
So you've all heard of the Great Barrier Reef, right?
Yeah,
so
it's supposed to be
the Great Barrier
amazing.
Reef is obviously a big tropical reef, but it's got lots and lots of islands. And a few of those islands are tourist resorts and things, but a lot of them are deserted islands. They're empty islands. And so a friend and I went to one of those deserted islands. And so you take a ferry over to the island and they take a little boat and drop you off at the island with all your camping gear. And you literally have to take everything with you, water included.
You pack it all in, your food, your water.
Yep. And so, yeah, we were dumped in this deserted island in the middle of the ocean, basically, 2 hours by ferry from the closest town. So there's no phone, there's no cell, there's no nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah, I would suggest you never watch Dateline.
What is Dateline?
It's crime TV.
Crime shows.
Anyway, so we went to this island and it has the best scuba diving, or like snorkeling. So yeah, I've done some scuba diving in the past. I've passed that. I don't want to do that. But
were there other people there?
No, just a friend and I. Like
the whole island.
Yeah, it's a deserted island. There's no one.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island. Yep. Except we knew that there was this ferry coming over every day.
You would come back.
You would come back. Unless the weather got bad. Yeah, one of the recommendations was take more food and water than you need, because
and you can't use your cell phone?
No.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would never do that.
So you're in a tent. And so we went out snorkeling every day, and it's the reef part that was close to where we were camping is called the Gardens. And that's exactly what it looked like. When you look on the surface, it just looks like beautiful blue water, mind you. It's not just seawater, it's beautiful blue. But when you get underneath, it looks like a garden. And it's just like all sorts of plants and rocks and, different colors and fish everywhere.
So what you're saying is you and your friend went, but there could have been other people somewhere else on the island, or no?
No, it's not that big an island. We walked around it in half an hour. It's not.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's amazing.
But the thing that's on that island is the turtles. So the turtles were nesting, and so they would come in every day, and you would see them come in and flop around and get caught by the tides. And
Did you take an underwater camera? Because it sounds like all the beautiful scenery
I didn't,
was underwater.
Kim. I really, because you look at them and they're a couple of $100 for a decent one, and you think, oh, no, I do regret that.
You'll have to go again.
And the friend I went with, we've got to go do another one. So around Easter, we might go do another one, and we're going to buy a camera. So
do they not have those Polaroid cameras anymore? Those portable cameras that are waterproof that I used to do in Hawaii? They're cheap.
The cheap ones don't take photos that are any good. You've got to spend a few $100. Yeah. Otherwise, it just sort of looks blurry and watery and stuff. But this was magnificent. And swimming with the turtles, swimming with the fish.
So tell us about a date. Like, what would your day be like? Did you sleep good on the beach in a tent?
There was
We're old. That sounds really uncomfortable.
I have a really nice. So you've got to buy your gear. If you're going to be a camping person, you've got to buy the right gear. I've got a really nice. It's a type. They call it a 4-wheel drive mattress. So it's like a layer of foam like this, and then when you open the valve, it fills up with air. So it's a half air mattress, half foam mattress.
Oh, nice.
And it was perfect. Yeah, it's fairly big, but we're carting tents and water across. You can cut a big mattress across too, but it rolls up quite nicely and you can carry it. The tent, like a decent sized sort of tent with a bit of an annex on it, so you could have your kitchen out in the annex bit. We camped under trees. The only problem with camping under trees is the birds' droppings. So But
And
it
there were
did
a
keep
lot
us
of
warm.
birds. Did you tell me?
There was a
did you
lot
tell me
of
there were a lot
birds.
of birds?
Yeah, these birds come all the way from, I think it was Papua New Guinea, and they lay their eggs on these tropical islands, and then the babies, they fly back to Papua New Guinea. So
That's
Very
amazing.
cool. And what
Yeah.
did you eat?
we took food. So the first 2 days we had frozen meals. So we'd made our own meals and frozen them, and then so used those for the first 2 days. And then the next days was things like boiled the rice and the tuna and some veggies and things like that.
Did you have to
We
start your own fires? And
had a little camp, gas
Stoves?
camp.
Oh, yeah. So you weren't like doing your sticks or your rocks.
it wasn't quite that outrageous.
I mean, I'm
Not
kind
quite
of
that outrageous.
picturing that.
It wasn't survival camp.
No, we were allowed to take across a lot of stuff. So we had our
That's
stove, and
awesome.
we had our saucepans, and we had our eskies and little chairs and all sorts of comfy things.
Still,
And
that's
we'd
quite
get up
an
and
adventure.
we would have bacon and eggs for breakfast, because bacon and eggs actually survive. You don't have to be too precious about keeping bacon cold, because it's already a smoked meat, and eggs obviously are fine. Yeah, so you cook bacon and eggs for breakfast, and then we went out snorkeling. We both had wetsuits because we're old. So even though the water's relatively warm, it wasn't warm enough for us to hang around in. So, yeah. And the wetsuits make you a bit more floatable as well.
Yeah.
And I also had I've got a stand-up paddleboard that's a blow-up one, which is great because it's fairly big, but it's in a backpack, and so we're able to take that across. And so
Maybe you could take a stand for your camera and video record it, so we can see you on that paddleboard.
I'll tell you what we did see on my paddleboard was the whales.
Nice.
Yeah.
So fun.
And so they're jumping out of the water. So they were relatively close, just a fraction too close. I was actually paddling backwards.
Wow, that is
but
cool.
yeah, you get to just sit there and watch the whales go past. Yeah. So that was really nice. And the big manta rays, the ones that have got 2-meter wingspans. So yeah, that's like really.
What an adventure. That sounds so cool.
So we would snorkel for an hour or so and then dry off and warm up. And the weather was relatively warm. What did we talked about that, didn't it? I forgot what it was now, but it's 89 degrees. So 90 degrees. I've lost it. Anyway,
yeah, it was
about 90 degrees, I think. Yeah. So it was warm. And so it meant that we'd hang out our wetsuits and our bathers and dry them and have a little afternoon nap and then go back and swim again. Yeah, they did have an emergency radio that you could break the glass and call for help. So they did have that there.
Did they have bathroom facilities on that?
They had toilets, composting toilets, and they were actually very well maintained. They were good and they don't stink, which is nice, rather than the drop toilets.
Yeah, that is nice.
I think there was enough people that come to the island. They decided they needed a toilet facility, but that's basically it. So there's this emergency radio and some toilets, but there's no showers. You were washing in the ocean.
Wow. And how long were you there? How many days did you go?
5 days.
5 days.
5 days we did that. Yep.
That is an adventure. I don't know if I could be without technology. Sounds so healthy to like not have your cell phone or anything and just get up and all you worry about is cooking and swimming and enjoying the
Cooking
scenery.
and swimming. The one thing I missed was Google. It wasn't the phone. It wasn't internet. It wasn't playing games. It was none of that. It was Google, because it was like you'd hear something about, say, these birds. And there was some really interesting stories about these birds, and you're going, is that a true story or not?
Yeah, you want to Google it to see if it was true or not, or find out what kind of bird that was, or what kind of fish you were seeing. Or
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that
so
makes sense.
I wish I'd taken the camera, and I really missed Google. But other than that, the time flew. Even I was surprised. I had some books because I love reading, and so, I would. And a rest afternoon, we would sit and read a book or have a little sleep or whatever. And the campsite had like wheelbarrows, so you could put all your gear in the wheelbarrow, because it was about, I'm going to transpose it again, a mile back to the beach.
Oh, wow.
That's
a good walk to carry all your stuff.
Yeah, maybe not quite that far. I don't know what it is in.
Okay. You can say kilometers. We should be big enough to figure that out.
450 meters.
There we go, 450 meters. We should know how to translate that.
You should know how to translate that. Anyway, so you had to cut. So they had wheelbarrows that you carted back. But yeah, and we swam around and.
That is awesome.
So yeah, that's the stuff. So I've been traveling on my own now for 4 years. And so yeah, I've got to that level of bravery and I've also a bit of a policy in my life at the moment of if someone asks me if you want to do something, you just say yes.
Yes,
that's a good policy.
Yes, woman. Like the Yes Man show.
So I don't know what sort of solo travel I like the best, but I might as well just try them all, and I'll tell you in another couple of years as to which way is the best way to travel. So the tour groups is good. The traveling with a small group of friends has got some positives and negatives to it. The traveling with just one friend to something where you both really like that, snorkeling. Yeah, they're all different ways of doing travel. In the motorhome, there was a couple of times we did like a little convoy. One time it worked and one time it didn't. Trying to find friends with the sort of the same, if you're going to be in convoy and motorhomes, the people who want to travel the same way. Like we have a thing of like when it gets to a certain temperature, we're going to go to a caravan park so we can have air conditioning. Whereas the other time, the convoy that worked, we're all going to a motorhome convention. And so we had actually mapped out, we need to be there in 2 weeks' time. And so we knew basically that we didn't have to travel all that fast. And so when someone said, can we stay here? Yeah, we can stay here.
Yeah, and I love your policy because the second you start thinking about all the things that could go wrong or so just say yes and then start figuring out how to make it work.
So that's what the
short of safety. So the
snorkeling trip was. Yeah, I said the obvious, but yeah, the snorkeling trip was that. She had already booked it and she had another friend that was going to go and then the friend backed out. And so she literally ran into me one day and went, hey, do you want to come snorkeling? Okay. Okay, let's go snorkeling.
How much time did you take to plan it out though? Prepare your food, make sure you had all your gear. Did you have a list or?
Oh yeah, we had a list. Yeah. Lists are really important, everybody. Write your list, because if you're on a deserted island with nothing, you don't want to go, oh, I forgot the pump for the airbed.
Or forget the airbed.
Or forget the airbed. Yeah, so just certainly make a list. But we didn't, I think between when she asked me and when I said, and when we left was probably a month.
It's not a lot of prep
no,
time.
She brought a new tent and we practiced. She came around one day and we practiced putting the tent up. That was valuable.
Yeah.
You're not dead tired and trying to do it. And you made sure that we had the right pegs and hammers and all those sorts of things. Yeah, that was about, I think I've been camping a fair bit. So I've got because you got your 72-hour kit, so it's sitting there. You just pick the whole thing up and take it with you. It shouldn't be that difficult for people who are prepared because you've got your sleeping bag and your tent and all that stuff's all organized and ready, isn't it, everybody?
No.
Yeah, you've got it all in a particular cupboard.
A 72-hour kit with a tent and an air mattress.
Yeah, tent and an
air mattress. Unless you count the one I can plug in.
No, because that's the point of a 72-hour. Like you should be able to live on a deserted island for 5 days with your 72-hour kit.
Hey, we need to have a lesson on how to do preparation because I'm definitely not that prepared. Yeah, so when we visit, we'd like to go there.
So would you like to come to a tropical island in the middle of nowhere?
I would be up for it. What about you, Shauna? Could you do
I could go golfing while you guys did that.
I don't think there's a golf course on
There's
there.
no golf course.
No, okay, Katie
I'd wave goodbye from the ferry.
Yeah. I'll go back. I'll come back and pick you up.
Okay. This was beautiful beaches and turtles that literally came onto the beach, and you could
I can just lay there all day long. It'd be amazing. In my motorhome that I drive over on the boat.
No, not one of the options for this island.
I know.
Some islands have that as an option. There's one near Brisbane called Stradbroke Island. We can do that. We can take the
Okay.
motorhome over to the island. But the tropical, the Great Barrier Reef Islands are mostly national parks, and it's the leave no trace type camping.
Yeah. Sounds amazing and adventurous for me. It would be very adventurous for me.
Yep. Pack your snorkel gear and your bathers and a wetsuit.
And your
That's
food.
it. No, well, I'll provide the food.
Bugs, are there bugs? Lots of bugs?
It's a good question.
I love that. It's like this island didn't even have mosquitoes.
Oh,
It
I'd
didn't
go
even
there.
have
Nice.
flies.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But the birds, weren't the birds an irritant? Were they noisy or were
The
they?
birds were a pain in the neck.
They
it was
wake you
their
up in the
island, so-
morning.
That's right, because it's summer here, so the sun gets up very early, like 4 a.m. And the birds, of course, thought that was morning, and so they would
Yeah.
wake up. And there's 2 or 3 different types of birds on this island, and they're all migratory birds, and so they're all mating and making plenty of mating noises and building nest noises and digging hole noises. And
So
yes,
it's
there was lots
entertaining
of-
at first and then it's annoying.
You sort of got, I don't know, you went to bed because it got dark, so you do really live a different lifestyle where it's dark. And no, we had little lamps and things, but it's, this is too hard to read by lamplight. I'm just going to sleep. And we did a fair bit of work as far as snorkeling around and cooking and just managing camping. So yeah, we were tired.
Yeah.
So we went to sleep early. So when the birds woke up, you went, oh, I'm awake now then.
You just plan for it. Just switch your days up a little bit.
Switch your days around. You just have bird light hours. So yes, it's when you travel by yourself, it's amazing what stuff you can do. You've got all these options because you can join a tour group, or you can go by yourself, or you can go with just 1 or 2 other people. You've got all of these choices, and you don't have to worry about what someone else wants and will they like it and will they fit in and will they this and will they that. You just do it. But yeah, Shauna, as far as the rest of Australia goes, most Australians are alive. The bugs aren't too bad.
Amazing.
It's pretty safe even from bugs and animals.
Bugs and animals. There are probably if you're out in the bush, you do. So yeah, you'd never walk in the bush without shoes on, without proper shoes. You'd be careful about which ocean you swim in. As long as you go to your spots and then let the animals have their spots. I think
Yeah. One of the other things about traveling that I think is so valuable, and what I loved about my Central Mexico trip, is learning about the culture. That's the place where I learned all about piñatas. We have piñatas and it's fun, and we hit them at parties and all the kids have them. But I didn't know that the first piñata was created by nuns, and those little spindly things, like the original piñata is the circle with the 7 spirals to represent the 7 deadly sins. And they would have the kids beat them to beat the sin. It was like a very symbolic. It was a ceremony that the nuns introduced for the kids to give them a story about sabotaging the 7 deadly sins. And I had no idea that's where piñatas came from, but it's just so fun to learn cultural things like that, or about the monarch butterflies and the Day of the Dead, and that they believe that the monarchs are their loved ones' spirits coming to visit. And that's why the monarchs come every year, is because that's their loved ones coming to visit, and then they fly back. And so it was just all the cultural things are so amazing. And same with Italy. I love just walking in the same places that the artists, Michelangelo and all of the famous artists have spent time, and just seeing everything up live and learning about their culture is just so amazing and eye-opening, and really makes you appreciate what an amazing world we live in.
I think international travel is vitally important for everybody to understand all that culture.
Yeah.
Also, but I think, like, talking about the walking where they walked, like the Statue of David. Now, everybody's seen that statue, but to see it in real life, you go, oh, wow, this is even better than any picture or postcard or anything I've ever seen. It really was. And then to hear the stories about it.
Yeah. It's
Um,
so amazing.
So yes, everybody needs to travel, and that's where the solo travel works, because you get to sit there and listen, and you get to like really absorb it. And that's what these cities don't need 5-second trips to them. You need to absorb the city.
Yeah.
But I had the same experience doing this historical tour through to like England and stuff. We went to there's a big, massive battle between England and Scotland where a lot of people died. And the field is still there. It's an empty field. And there's a feeling like that. They actually had, this is where the clan of this people died and the clan of this people died. And so it was a massacre of the Scottish. And a number of people on the trip knew about this area, and they had done the genealogy of their family and knew that they'd lost relatives at this battle.
Wow.
And so there's a real sort of emotional significance of seeing these places. And seeing the places where your families come from. So mine was Tipperary in Ireland, and to go to Tipperary and go, this is where my ancestors lived.
Yeah.
You know,
And Shauna, I know you've talked about the similar experiences. The other thing is you learn to appreciate what we do have and what we take for granted, because you travel to Guatemala all the time, right? And it's such a different experience there.
It's important to learn all that stuff. That's right.
Because we are all, the three of us, we're very blessed. We live very comfortable lives. Yeah. But yeah, those solo trips are a different group of solo trips. But yes, to appreciate the culture in all of the countries, appreciate that there are many countries that are very successful and doing very well, and people live very happy lives in pretty well all countries.
Yeah, so true.
I've just been to my cruise. We went to Vanuatu, and it's a
Say that again, Vanuatu?
Vanuatu, yeah. It's an island in the Pacific. And New Caledonia. So that was a really interesting experience. Vanuatu is an English-speaking country, and New Caledonia is a French colony. So it's just two islands quite close together and very different culturally. So yes, everybody, you should all go solo travel. It's definitely, don't sit home and wait for someone else, or wait till you're married, or wait till there's a future. Or
find a group. There's so many online.
So many solo travelers groups, so many tour groups that solos are most welcome to be a part of. There's lots of ways to travel. Just make your bucket list of all the places you'd like to go and start ticking them off.
Yep. All right.
Good to see you guys. See you next
good to
time.
see you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.